Hello, it's Heather and Phil, and we are at a place called Wanderlinger Brewing. And tonight there's a band playing called the Other Brothers, which has a bunch of local Chattanooga musicians, which I've heard in lots of other bands.
Namely Strung Like a Horse.
Yeah, Strung Like a Horse and others.
Yeah.
But I've never heard this combination of musicians. So this should be a lot of fun, and I've brought the Canon R6, which I'm actually vlogging with for the very first time using the 24-70 2.8, and I brought the 70-200 2.8 as well, and Heather has brought her Z50, and I have let her use one of my all-time favorite lenses. I've brought for her the Nikon 70-200 2.8 G VR2, and she's also brought her new, which you may have seen in an unboxing video, she brought her new Tamron 45mm f1.8, which that one has vibration reduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vibration reduction.
Vibration control.
Yeah, it's got that. It's got that. It's got that VC. So we're gonna eat, have some beer, and try to photograph some music. This is a difficult lighting situation here, so we'll see how it goes. All right, here are some photos from Wanderlinger. This is my server who is pouring me a beer in this shot, and man, I had a lot of beer that night. And most of these will be with the RF 70-200 f2.8. Every shot from all three of the lenses I used is wide open, so this is a 2.8 shot. There is the band from the side of the stage. That's Jonathan Wimpy in the foreground there. This is BJ Hightower. He has amazing eyes. I wish the lights weren't such a white balance disaster, because he has really amazing blue eyes. And I managed to capture them a few times. Here's a 200mm shot. Likes to belt out a tune, and he likes to open those big old eyes sometimes. It's always cool whenever he's playing to get a shot of him doing that. BJ Hightower, awesome musician. Jonathan Wimpy playing guitar. This is Joe Dill on the banjo. He was in the center of the stage, and he had a bright light on his face, so a lot of the photos look like this, where his face is much brighter than everything else in the scene. There's another example of that. I used eye detect autofocus for pretty much all of this. I've got a backup button that it has pulls up single point just by pressing a different button, and sometimes I use that in situations when it was really dark or you couldn't see an eye, like kind of this shot. This is Heather with the Z50, and this is her Tamron SP 45 1.8 that she was using. This is 25,600 ISO. All of these photos have been cleaned up using Topaz Denoise AI on default automatic settings. And there is Eric Crisp, aka Crispy, awesome drummer. Really enjoy his playing. I think this, or maybe it's this, I think this is Joe Dill's Facebook profile picture right now. So you're welcome, Joe, for the new Facebook profile picture. I like that piece of art in the background and how it's kind of perfectly framing him in this shot. Still shooting with the 70-200. At some point I switch. There's Jonathan Wimpy singing hard. This is one of my favorite shots of the evening. His eyes look really great in this one. That's a 200mm shot. Man, that RF 70-200 is awesome. And I switched at this point to the RF 24-70. I couldn't get back far enough with the 70-200 to get the entire stage. And this 35mm shot, I got all four people in the band, plus the big, huge bear on the wall with a rose in its mouth. So I like that. And there's some people dancing in the foreground. It's kind of cool. Still with the 24-70 at 50mm of Jonathan Wimpy. There is Heather. This is in between sets. You can see Heather has my 70-200 f2.8 G VR2 on the Z50 at this point, and she's sweaty because we were working pretty hard. And now this is the beginning of the second set, and I had been taking some pictures at really low shutter speeds, and I accidentally was still at 1/40th, which is not fast enough for live music, but I like the way some of these pictures of Crispy playing the drums came out with the slow shutter speed. The motion blur is kind of cool in these shots, still at 1/40th. And now I've figured out my mistake and I'm up to 1/160th. Love that 70-200. It's really cool when the musician will look at you, and I've been photographing Eric Crisp for years, so he kind of trusts me, I think. I like this close-up shot from the side with some bokeh over here, using that bright light on his face to my advantage in these close-up shots. This is Sunshine. She was one of the folks that was working the counter. This is a 25,600 ISO shot. And Topaz denoise, I actually did not use the automatic settings because it puts so much noise reduction on this shot that it made everything look plasticky. I decided to just let the noise come through. Now I've got the 50mm 1.8 on. Here's some folks dancing. And the 50mm does pretty good. You know, it's a $200 lens where the other ones are over $2,000, and I thought it held its own during these few shots where I used it. There's a 51.8 shot of Crispy playing the drums. And this is a 25,600 ISO shot of this fellow making a nice cloud outside. I don't think they allow vaping inside. And now back inside, still shooting with the 50. There's John Wimpy. And now I've switched back to the 70-200. I like the sparkle in Crispy's eye in this shot. That's pretty cool. And that's the last shot right there. An up close of John Wimpy with everybody else compressed in the background.
Hey you guys, this is Heather, and I'm going to run through my pictures from Wanderlinger Brewery. Keep in mind that I was shooting with the Nikon Z50, and the two lenses I used were my Tamron SP 45mm f1.8, and then Phil's Nikkor 70-200 f2.8 GVR2. So the first photos I took of that night were using my Tamron 45 f1.8, so we're going to come through those first. As I go through those, you're going to notice some lower ISOs, just because I was shooting at 1.8, and then once I go up to f2.8, we see some higher ISOs. But that 70-200 is just so sharp that once you develop those images and put them through Topaz, even though you might be losing a little bit of detail to denoise them, and Topaz can recover some of that detail in its sharpening process, the images look fantastic, even though it's highest ISO on Nikon Z50. So I'm just going to go through these real quick and show you what I was able to capture. So this is BJ Hightower, who has fantastic blue eyes. You can't see it in this because it's black and white, but you can see that he has bright eyes. Another one of BJ. I tried to get at least one full body shot of him because his bass is just so cool. This gentleman on banjo. Got a few of him. I was not able to get as many of Jonathan Wimpy as I would have liked. So Jonathan was way over to the side of the stage left, I believe. And he was in a hole of darkness. He did not get much light on him at all. So you can see, even at 1.8, it's still 1800 ISO on this one and 3200 ISO on this one. So I was happy to get these two at least of Jonathan, but the lighting conditions on that side of the stage just weren't that great. Here's another one of BJ. He likes to open up those big eyes sometimes when he's singing. And it is really cool to get those bright blue eyes just wide open in a shot. Here's a gentleman on banjo. This one's one of my favorites of the night of him, when he just kind of stepped away for a second to play this little part on the banjo. And then at this point, I have switched over to the 70-200. Remember, at this point, you're going to start seeing higher ISOs just because I'm at 2.8 instead of 1.8. All shutter speeds were around 1/100th to 1/160th, depending on who I was shooting. The gentleman on banjo had more light on him, so I was able to use a little bit of a higher shutter speed on him, whereas everybody else didn't have as much light, so I had to slow the shutter speed down. And I know this one has a little bit of motion blur, but I just love, you can tell that BJ was moving his head, so his ponytail is behind him a little bit. And just to zoom in real quick and show you how sharp this lens is, you can just see every hair, every pore, just incredible sharpness on this lens. That was the first time I'd shot with it, and I really, really enjoyed shooting with it. So this is Crispy, Eric Crisp, the drummer. What you can't see in this photo is that Phil is standing right here making Crispy laugh. So while Phil's making Crispy laugh, I'm getting the shot. So I really love this shot. Crispy, again, was in a dark hole over in the corner, so that's 5,000 ISO. But I'm happy with the way this turned out. There's another one of BJ. This one's my favorite, probably, of BJ of the night. He'll lean his head back and kind of belt out a note, and it makes for a cool shot. There's another one of that series. It's a gentleman on banjo. And at this point, I had slipped over to stage left, and I was shooting between some speakers and some microphones. And I got this shot of BJ Hightower, as well as this one where he actually looked over at me. And then this one, which I like a lot as well. Here's another one of the gentleman on banjo. Here's one of Crispy with a stick kind of up close to his face, let you know he's drumming. Also, I got another one similar in this position where you can see both sticks. One more of BJ. And then this is the last photo of the night. This is at 1/100th of a second, so look at how much those drumsticks moved just in 1/100th of a second. It just shows you that I really couldn't have slowed that shutter speed down anymore, or I would have had way too much motion blur.
Well, we had a wonderful time at Wanderlinger. So tell me about your experience with the 45 1.8.
It was good.
Tell me about your experience with the 70 to 200 minus 2.8
It was
VR2 G VR2.
It was good. I like it.
Oh, she only says good. I thought she would say more than good. I had a nice time shooting with the 24 to 70 Canon lens, but I think I had a better time shooting with the 70 to 200 Canon lens, and I think I also enjoyed the 50mm 1.8 Canon lens, which I've heard some folks not like that much. So I don't know what's up with that. I think I'm out of focus. Oh, no, wait a minute, making me back into focus. There's been some beer involved with this shoot. And the other brothers were really cool. Really great musicians in combinations that I've never heard before. Did we park out here? Do you recall?
Right there is our car.
Right there? Are you sure?
Yeah, let me go.
You're going over there?
Yeah, because there's not a...
She's taking another route. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed the lovely Miss Heather, the Georgia Bulldog. She gave me 5. I hope you enjoyed her photos with the Nikon Z50 and the Tamron 45 1.8 and my beloved Nikon Z. No, it's not a Z.
It's not a Z.
Nikon F 70 to 200 F 2.8 G VR2. And I hope you enjoyed my shots with the Canon RF 24 to 70 2.8 and the 70 to 200 F 2.8, as well as the 50mm F 1.8. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Heather, what's your name?
Heather.
Heather, say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.